Welcome to Daily Devotions. Today we're going to be looking at the gospel reading for this Sunday, which is Matthew chapter 14, the story of the feeding of the 5,000. It's a familiar story. Jesus had gotten on a boat and was going across the lake to find a desolate place, but the crowds, still clamoring to see him, had gone around the lake on foot, and when Jesus arrived on shore, there were the crowds waiting for him with expectation. And Jesus met their expectations. He had compassion on them, and he taught them, and he healed them. As the day came to a close, the disciples, who by now themselves had to be hungry and exhausted, told Jesus that it was time to send the people away to get food. And Jesus said, "No, they don't need to go, just feed them." And with the paltry food that they had, the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, Jesus fed 5,000 men plus women and children. They had 12 baskets left over. They didn't even start with a bowl full. It's a great story. And I have had something very similar happen to me. I call it the miracle of the beans. Let me tell you the story. It all started many, many years ago when we hosted a softball team family barbecue. As the host, we provided hamburgers, and potluck style, everybody was supposed to bring sides and desserts. Well, 7 of the 9 other families all brought 7-layer bean dip. I don't even know what the other 2 families brought. We had 7 dishes of 7-layer bean dip. Lots and lots of bean dip, but that's not the miracle of the beans. You see, after that, I was so worried that that would happen again that anytime I gave a potluck-style party, I always felt the need to provide enough food to make up for any forgetfulness or lapse or overlap of food items. I would be afraid that the person responsible for dessert would get sick and not come, and I'd have no dessert. So I got this reputation for always having way too much food. And especially at barbecues, one of the things that's just easy for me to provide is baked beans. Homemade or canned, doesn't matter, I like them and it's easy. So I often will have baked beans, and without fail, every single time, at the end of the party, I have more baked beans left over than when I began. Must say something about people not liking my beans. I don't know, but I have witnesses. My daughters will attest to the fact that there are more beans afterwards than there were to begin with. It's a miracle, but the bigger miracle was the one on the shore 2,000 years ago, when Jesus, with 2 fish and 5 loaves, fed thousands and had 12 baskets left over. No beans that I know of, but 12 baskets left over. It's a great story. And we could look at this story and consider the compassion that Jesus had for the crowds who were hungry and probably tired. He didn't send them into town to wait in long lines at Long John Silver's. He didn't ask them to give up their comfortable spot on the sand or in the grass. He didn't even ask for them to contribute to a Feed the Crowds fund. He simply saw what he had, blessed it, and gave it to the disciples. We could look at the fact that this miracle is a proof that Jesus is fully divine, Son of God. But I want to look at verse 16, which says, Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." Did you catch the subtle instruction there? Or perhaps not so subtle. You give them something to eat. In that moment, Jesus was sending out his disciples to do exactly what he had been training them to do. He had been teaching. He had been modeling for them servant leadership. He had been spending time with them in order for them to be able to go out and serve as he served. But all they had in this moment was 5 loaves and 2 fish and Jesus. And Jesus sent them out. They had to have been thinking, what are we going to do? There's 12 of us and thousands of them. We can't possibly pass out this food. Or even more likely, there's only 5 loaves and 2 fish. How are we going to feed them? We did not come prepared. How are we going to deal with the complainers, the doubters, the rambunctious children? What will we say when we run out after we've promised? I have felt that way. I'm sure you have felt that way. When God has called me to go out and in some way feed the crowds, I have said, I don't know enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not big enough. I'm not prepared enough. But Jesus has given exactly what we need. And he's there himself with his blessing. Jesus asks us to go out and serve as he served right now, just as we are, with just exactly what we have. He will be with us. It is Jesus' blessing that feeds the crowds. We're asked simply to take what he has given and pass it on. Amen.